President Muhammadu Buhari's victory at the presidential election was affirmed today by the Presidential Election Tribunal. The PDP has reacted, and the president calls the victory at the polls the victory for Nigerians. 188 Nigerians have been evacuated from South Africa in the wake of the xenophobic attacks on foreign nationals in that country. They are now headed to Nigeria. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm sure Kimalia Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos. What a day it is. Almost 8 or 9 hours, Nigerians are watching, glued to their television, watching the proceedings at the Presidential Election Tribunal, which held at the premises in the courtroom in the nation's appeal court. But today, it was all over. The Presidential Election Tribunal has given its verdict. Muhammadu Buhari again emerges winner in this round. We hear the reaction from the president. The PDP has also reacted. Tonight is going to be a 1-hour stretch of the program where we dissect the outcome of today's judgment and the reactions from the two major political parties that entered into that legal battle. So stay with us, everyone. Let's also tell you that President Muhammadu Buhari has held his very first Federal Executive Council meeting for his second term in office today at the presidential villa. He chaired that meeting, and as that was going on, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal was also delivering its judgment. Well, now, let's check out some other political stories that we have for you on our political roundup.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has sent out a warning to members of the executive who are in the habit of refusing to honor summons or invitations by the legislature. He assures that the 9th Assembly will put a stop to it and warns of serious consequences for anyone who fails to honor the invitation or summons of the National Assembly. Mr. Gbajabiamila says he will take up the issue with President Muhammadu Buhari to ensure a better working relationship between the two arms of government.
He is determined to use every constitutional provision available to it to make sure that those situations become a thing of the past.
President Muhammadu Buhari has given reasons that necessitated the adjustment or creation of new ministries in his second tenure. The president made this known during a brief remark at the commencement of the maiden meeting of the Federal Executive Council at the Aso Council chambers in Abuja. Some of the ministers affected are those of Power, Works and Housing, which has been split, while that of Finance has been merged with Budget and National Planning, amongst others. New additions include the Ministries of Police Affairs and Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and that of Special Duties.
We decided to restructure some functions, which led to the creation of new ministries.
The National and State Houses of Assembly Elections Petitions Tribunal sitting in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, has upheld the victory of Senator Kola Balogun of the PDP over his petitioner, former Governor Biola Jimobi of the APC for the Oyo South Senatorial District. The three-man panel led by Justice Anthony Akpovi dismissed the APC petition and held that the APC failed to prove all the allegations of corruption against the PDP and Kola Balogun. The People's Democratic Party is urging the Benue State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal to dismiss petition filed by Mr. Emmanuel Jime and the All Progressives Congress challenging the election of Governor Samuel Otom for lacking in evidential and material value. Senior Advocate of Nigeria and counsel to the PDP, Mr. Chris Uche, moved the motion before the tribunal while adopting their final written addresses by parties before the Justice Henry Oluseyi-led panel, which reserved judgment to a later date.
Let's get ready, everyone. You see, just above my shoulder, that's the basis of our conversation on the program tonight. Get it? Let's make sense of what is all about. We get some expert legal opinion, and we hear from the two major political parties their standpoint on this one. But let's tell you about some of the situation regarding our brothers and sisters in South Africa. Any moment from now, perhaps in the next few hours, 188 Nigerians are expected to land in Nigeria from South Africa. This is coming in the wake of these xenophobic attacks on Nigerians and other nationals in that country. 188 Nigerians making up of the first batch of evacuees will arrive Nigeria. Those are some of the pictures of some of them at the South Africa end of the journey. And we'll be expecting them to arrive any moment from now. They left a few hours ago after several hours of delay. And you can see the agitations from some of them there. So let's tell you, it's done now, and all said and done at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, where today President Muhammadu Buhari of the APC emerged winner yet again. APC will say this is perhaps the third time Muhammadu Buhari will be defeating Atiku Abubakar in the space of about 6 years. Remember that they were on the same race in 2014 for the ticket of the APC, which Buhari got a ticket in 2015 to run for the APC. And at the 2019 polls, Muhammadu Buhari emerged victorious at the polls. This time around, in the courtroom, Muhammadu Buhari has defeated Atiku Abubakar. And so, if you take you back in to see what the timeline looks like for when this race all started, it was on the 8th of March 2019 that the former vice president and candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, the major challenger in the 2019 election, went to court to file an ex parte application before the Court of Appeal headquarters in Abuja, and also requested an order compelling INEC to allow access to inspect electoral materials. On the 27th of March, another presidential candidate of the HDP has called to disqualify Buhari and Atiku. Well, the waiting game is over, they say. On the 8th of May 2019, the tribunal commenced inaugural sitting. On the 22nd of May, Justice Bukuchua recuses herself from tribunal on personal grounds. On the following day, the tribunal dismisses suit seeking to stop Buhari's inauguration. If you look at those activities there, up until today, when the court eventually gave victory to Muhammadu Buhari in a unanimous judgment. It was after 4 months of legal fireworks at the tribunal today ruled that President Muhammadu Buhari was duly elected on February the 23rd, 2019 for another term in office. At a ruling which lasted over 8 hours, the chairman of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, Justice Muhammad Garba, dismissed all the petitions filed by the PDP and its candidate Atiku Abubakar in its entirety. Take a look at some of the takeaways from that judgment. The court ruled that Buhari's victory in the 2019 won the presidential election, and also dismissed Atiku's petition in its entirety. Another takeaway is the tribunal ruled that President Buhari is eminently qualified to contest the 2019 election. The tribunal dismissed APC's claims that Atiku Abubakar is a Cameroonian and not qualified to contest the election. The tribunal denied INEC's request to strike out some of PDP's witnesses. The tribunal also ruled that no evidence that results were transmitted to any server. Let's get a sense of what this means in the legal point of view and the political perspective. We have joining us on the program tonight a senior advocate of Nigeria, one of Nigeria's most senior lawyers, Chief Robert Clarke. He joins us from Lekki, Surulere area of Lagos. And from our Abuja studio, he is the spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, Alhaji Galadima, and Mr. Daniel Bwala, a lawyer and a member of the APC. there in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Perhaps let me get the reaction from the senior advocate of Nigeria on the program. This is the first presidential election tribunal since 2011. For 2015, there was none. But this time around, how does this come to you, Chief Robert Clarke? It was a 9 hours proceeding today. What is your take on the outcome of today's proceeding?
Well, this is a classic case of the reinstatement of the electoral law in Nigeria. And I must congratulate the five-man panel for a wonderful job in not only restating the law regarding two very most important and crucial matters, but also made it so clear that if anybody is attempting to take his opponent to a judicial tribunal, it is a task that he must think twice before trying to, because this tribunal has reinstated the powers of INEC and the presumption of law attached to their obligation that whatever they declare can only be reported by evidence. It is the final say.
I know it must have been a very difficult task for the five-man panel led by Justice Garba today. But from what we saw over the last few months, Chief Clarke, there were online pressure, there were offline pressure in terms of the internet also. There were loads and loads of debate over what has happened, the issues of server. What lesson do you think Nigerians can take away quickly from this judgment of today?
Number one, there are three out of the five fundamental questions that were decided upon. I will want to take three that has been groping around Nigerians for the past 3 months. Number one, the qualification question, whether Muhammadu Buhari was qualified to contest a particular certificate. This judgment has cleared that area. That the Constitution says the minimum qualification is school certificate or particular standard after that. So it is not a question which has been canvassed against Buhari. But I was glad when to hear the panel saying that, look, even if you say this man did not attach his certificate to his application, the evidence produced before this tribunal by the Nigerian army, by sending his file, shows that he attended a school one. From that school, he went into the military school. And in the process of transferring from his school to the military school, it was confirmed, and that was the evidence before the court, that he has gone to a secondary school and read up to that. Also, the report before the tribunal was clear, in so many papers, and they were sure he was going to pass them. So that is conclusive evidence to show that he possesses the minimal requirement. The second was that he lied under oath on this. This tribunal has been able to put that to sleep. Now you're talking about the cyber or no cyber. The second point before that point is the question of the powers of INEC. The tribunal has gone to say that, look, the law in Nigeria is that where INEC makes a declaration, under the Evidence Act, whatever declaration is made is final and must be accepted, but it is a rebuttable finding. So the onus shifts on you to say what INEC said here, what is said there is wrong. Now, turning to the cyber, the evidence is so clear now that all speculations that there was the use of cyber has been put to rest.
All right.
We have
I mean,
seen
it looks
evidence
so much that
by
we're having
evidence.
difficulties with the connection there. Let me, apologies, Chief Clarke. Let me pause it for a moment, and our engineers will work on that. But let's go to our Abuja studio, and let me quickly get the reaction of my guest here in our Abuja studio. Let me come to you, Alhaji Buba Galadima. You are at the receiving end of this judgment. Your party has said that they rejected it and they're going to Supreme Court. What are the reasons for your party rejecting the outcome of today's judgment? Does this come to you as a surprise?
Well, no, Sheun, and I want to first thank you for giving me the opportunity to cite from a distance my old boss, Chief Robert Clarke, with whom somebody that I knew for over 45 years. It's a good day for me today, citing him. Secondly, I would want to congratulate our legal team led by Dr. Levi Ozoku for having put a very spirited and technical argument before the peoples of this country. And I also want to say that we are not on trial, nor are we disappointed. It's Nigerians that are disappointed in what had happened today. And there is every reason to be disappointed because what we have seen today is not that the justices that read this judgment were looking for the truth or the evidences before them, but they are looking for personality. This is an issue that Nigerian judiciary has to look into very, very critically before they plunge this country into problem. When the weak goes to court to seek for the redress against the poor, all that the judiciary does is to look for technicalities to dismiss the wishes of the weak. This has portended a lot of problems for several countries all over the world. And these are the kind of things that lead to revolution. And justice will not also be seen, will not only be done, but must be seen to be done by all and sundry so that there is this satisfaction of the people. So as far as we are concerned, we've received the verdict of this panel, and we will be looking forward to another chance at the Supreme Court. But it doesn't matter whichever way it takes at the Supreme Court level. What is important is that today in Nigeria, as I speak to you, we are in a mourning mood that every Nigerian is very, very disappointed, that every Nigerian feels that he has been shortchanged because it is an opportunity to deal with this, to throw away this inept, faceless, and directionless government. I also want to tell you, Sheun, that right from the beginning, here in this studio, I've told the world, and our listeners know, and our viewers know, that the refusal by General Muhammadu Buhari to sign the Electoral Act was deliberate, and that his removal of the Chief Justice of the Federation, whose views in the legal parlance is known, that the man Onoge looks also always for the truth and for the facts of the case rather than technicalities. And then for them to postpone this election 6 or 8 hours to the presidential election portends that they had already organized and put booby traps, and the result of which we had now seen, because he refused to sign the law. Of course, it is now a burden for him. He said he is not signing the law, he's leaving it for the incoming government to sign. So I now challenge him, since he is now an incoming government and upheld by the tribunal, let him sign this electoral law tomorrow.
All right. Alhaji Galadima, I'd like to pause it for a moment. We'll go for a break. When we come back, I'll get the reaction of Mr. Daniel Bwala, who is a lawyer and a member of the APC. And of course, we still have Chief Robert Clarke on the program with us. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We just got started and dissecting this issue for the next almost an hour. That's what we do tonight on the program. Join us again. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us on the program. Those two men that you see right there on your screen get old talking because they went into the battle ring at the election. The man on the right of your screen won. Yet again is won today at the tribunal, but the PDP says that they're not resting on that judgment. They call it that it is wrong and that they're going to the Supreme Court. Tonight, we have a panel to discuss all of this. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Robert Clarke, who has been speaking to us from Surulere area of Lagos. And from our Abuja studio, we got two men from two divides of the coin today. Alhaji Buba Galadima, PDP presidential election campaign spokesperson, and Mr. Daniel Bwala, a lawyer and a member of the APC. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Let me come to you, Mr. Bwala, and let me get your reaction on today's judgment and perhaps also get your view on what the PDP says. The PDP said the verdict is a subversion of justice and they are heading to the Supreme Court.
Well, thank you for having me. The assertion of PDP is wrong, but I'm not surprised because PDP is living in an alternative universe. But today's verdict is a victory for Nigeria, victory for everyone who believes in the rule of law and believe in democratic process where the wishes of the majority is what counts. I believe that PDP approached the court because they had confidence that their dispute would be resolved by the court. And I remember when they filed their case, they were saying that they were very sure they were going to win. So you cannot approbate and reprobate. You cannot in one breath say you went to court, you believe you will win, and after you lose, you castigate the judges. I want to also congratulate the lawyers for PDP, established and successful legal practitioners who have done their best in arguing their case. That is the beauty of democracy, that you can come to court and argue your matter. And the assertion by Baba Buba Galadima that everyone in Nigeria is mourning is also wrong, because I'm a Nigerian and I'm not mourning. As a matter of fact, I'm celebrating. I ate so much that it's showing on my stomach, and I haven't had dinner yet. So every Nigerian is not mourning. All the members of APC are celebrating, and all those who believe that we do not want corruption to come back to Nigeria and loot our treasury and destroy the country will be celebrating the victory of today. We, right from the beginning, when the court, for example, they asked Bulkachua to recuse herself, even when the law said she could still stand, she recused herself. They started the media campaign, their litigation in the media. It all failed because the truth of the matter in our corpus juris is that no matter how strong you think your case is, if you fail to canvass it adequately, there is no way judgment will be given to you because the court is not a Father Christmas. And we must avert our mind also to the nitty-gritty of what the court held today. It is very explicit. If you look at Section 138, which was the basis on which they approached the court, that the president was not qualified, you just oppose that with Section 131 of the Constitution. I mean, it clearly states that somebody who contests for the office of the president, part of the qualification is to have to be educated to living school certificate or its equivalent. And the president has presented documents and evidence and educational qualification that is way above that. The court, in fact, said he is overqualified. So how can that be then a thing that Nigerians will start mourning? But PDP live in alternative universe. It is only a good judgment if it favors them. It is a bad judgment if it doesn't favor them. You give opinion. If it favors them, you are a good man. If it doesn't favor them, they will start insulting you. I don't think we will build democracy on that. Democracy is built on the rule of law where parties argue their matter and whatever the court decides, if you are aggrieved, like the way they say they are heading to the Supreme Court, we shall meet there. So far, it is 2-0. Defeated them at the election, defeated them at the tribunal. So it's a victory for Nigerians in a nutshell.
Let me quickly, probably you can react to these quickly. The president said today, and I quote, "Good conscience fears no evil report. I was unperturbed all along because I knew Nigerians freely gave us a mandate. We are now vindicated." It does appear that the president knew he was going to win at the tribunal. How do you react to this?
Right from the beginning, if you look at the disposition of the president, number one, what I have come to find out personally is that the president is not a desperado. in everything he's doing. He just takes things as they are. So right from the beginning, you believe that you have the general. For example, look at the votes that came from the north. PDP in one breath will be arguing against the card reader. In another breath, they will say they had the highest number through the card reader. You can't win by inconsistency. The president has been calm, cool, and collected, and has never at any material time been perturbed to a point where governance is put under jeopardy because there is a matter, at the court. So I agree with the president that the confidence is in the fact that majority of Nigerians voted for him. The confidence is in the fact that a man who believes he has something to offer should be voted for, and he is so voted for by the Nigerian people.
Alhaji Galadima, how do you what the president said? He said he's unperturbed, as though that he's aware that it could emerge victorious at the tribunal. How do you react to that?
Well, the truth of the matter shown is that I don't know which word to use by what Dan has just described, that this is a government of saints. Whether Nigerians believe him or not, he is in a democracy free to say what he said. I also want to say that I don't believe that the president, or when court said that he's overqualified, that he is. The test of the body is in the, what do you call it? If the president is qualified, why didn't he present any evidence that he went to school, or that he had certificate? What is wrong? Why is the certificate? They can say anything. Look, you didn't see me in the courtroom today. There is a reason as to why I didn't go to the court today. Because as an intelligent person who had been through in this type of atmosphere before, when I was even with the president, when you hear the security agencies start making insinuations that some people are trying to destabilize government, some people are trying to destabilize the country, some people are trying to do this, to do that, threatening, it means that they have organized to rob people of their victory. And this is what the security agency started saying the day before yesterday, and deployed military, police, all over the town in anticipation of knowing of what the court is likely to do today. And in the morning when I woke up, I saw the array of people from the other side, the food-ready people who were never seen during campaign, who have never contributed to the so-called victory, now populated the court to be seen so that they could now access legas of government. These are the kind of unprincipled people who cannot die for anything, who cannot stand for anything. If Atiku were to be declared today as the president of Nigeria, 90% of them will run to him before the following morning. And the issue of a settled matter, there is nothing that has been settled. This is the first tribunal. What we are concerned with, what is the public opinion? The public opinion across Nigeria is that we've been robbed. And the public opinion in Nigeria is that I am not a lawyer. If the president is qualified, where are his documents that has proved that he has acquired the kind of qualifications he said he has? I have gone to the university. I can bring my teachers to testify. I can bring my certificates. Where are his own?
Okay, Alhaji Galadima, let's go to the senior advocate on the program, Chief Robert Clarke. There were very strong statements made today, Chief Clarke, by the tribunal, the panel. And one of those was that Atiku is not a Cameroonian. And also, the court used a term that President Buhari is eminently qualified. And it was a unanimous judgment. Well, these are some of the issues that perhaps will be contested again at the Supreme Court. What are your fears about our jurisprudence, especially when it comes to the issue of our electoral law and practice?
You see, let us be honest with ourselves. We need to revisit our electoral law in Nigeria. I have always said it, that if it is not revisited, nobody who contests an election in Nigeria and loses through INEC's declaration can ever win a petition. The law makes it so clear that despite and in spite all the malpractices of INEC, once they declare election, there is a presumption of regularity by law attached to it. Now, what I'm proposing is this. Let the National Assembly change the law. Where INEC conducts an election, let the law be changed that INEC will first come before the panel as the first witness to say, yes, I have conducted an election. These are the materials I used. These are the results. These are this and that. And then they should be able to prove to the tribunal that they carried out their duties according to law. But the reverse is the case now. INEC goes and does what it wants. They now leave you, who is petitioning, to come and prove that what they did was wrong. And you are asking them to come and defend it. Definitely, they will say what you are saying is wrong. So my position is this, and I have many lawyers who will accept what I'm saying. There are very many senior lawyers in Nigeria who will never accept to be a petitioner in an election tribunal. One of the most prominent is on this panel we are talking about. He will never take a brief as a petitioner because he knows it is an uphill task. Therefore, to allow every Nigerian to feel that the citadel of justice will be got in a tribunal, change the law so that the presumption of regularity attached to INEC's result will now be changed so that INEC will be forced by law to come to the tribunal to say, well, I have done my duty. This is how I did it, so that it will be clear to everybody. That is my conclusion on this matter.
When the tribunal today punctured the evidence laid on the table by the star witness of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Robert Clarke, how does that come to you? Perhaps if you were in a part of that room today, what kind of message would that have sent to you if you are one of the lawyers today?
Look, I have said it in my opening statement here that the petitioner failed woefully to prove the elements of their case. On the two questions, one on the server, the principal witness they brought forward, whose evidence was to be believed by them, claimed that his source of information was from a third party. What effect does his evidence then have? It means that if you are relying on a third party to come before a court, then your evidence is hearsay and has no evidentiary value. They know that. They have an array of lawyers there. Why should they bring that man as their sole witness to talk about Sava when he knows nothing about it? That is their fault, and they have to pay the price. Secondly, on the question of certificates, the Constitution says you have to either have a certificate or you have attained certain training up to that level. Buhari went to the army and came out as a general. His school, even if nobody brought any evidence, the military file that was produced at this tribunal was enough to vindicate that he went to school, he sat for an exam, and he entered an institution that was higher than the school certificate. And he came out as a general. So don't let us beat about the bush. They have failed to prove anything to the contrary. They have failed. It is their fault, and they have to live.
Okay, let me go back to our Abuja studio, and let's get Mr. Daniel Bwala into this conversation with what is on the table right now. Well, there won't be an appeal against a Supreme Court whenever they give their judgment. So it might be 2-0, but when the Supreme Court give judgment to the other party, it's all lost. But as it stands right now, with some of the issues laid on the table, the PDP said that the court did not look at the flawless, that's what they call it, flawless evidence, that the court lacked, they did not point at justice with the flawless evidence that they have. Are you afraid that if this goes to Supreme Court, there might be trouble?
How can I be afraid? First of all, their facts are alternative facts, and they operate in alternative universe. Like I told you, they don't bank on evidence. They bank on media and public opinion. You have heard Baba. Baba Galadima's emphasis has been on public opinion, public opinion. He doesn't have time to look at the law. But in our corpus juris, public opinion is not as relevant as evidence that is tendered before the court. What it means is that if the whole world is saying hula balu, and the evidence before the court does not support that, there is no way you can get it. And these judges, or the panel of tribunal judges, are not to watch television and feel the pulse of PDP, then come to the court and deliver it as they ventilate their point. So I have no fear whatsoever about the fact that they are going to the Supreme Court, because if you look at the judgment of the court, for example, I mean, it is there. When you apply to the university, let's say you're applying for study, they will ask you to send your transcript, even before your certificate gets there. On the evidence of your transcript, they will assess that you have undergone education. If you look at section 131 of the Constitution, is clear. He said the person must have been educated to living school certificate, must have been educated to living school certificate. If I push my argument further, even if you don't present certificate, but the school you went through sent what sort of looked like a transcript suggesting that you have had your education up to the living certificate, it becomes fact that cannot be disproved. But this is left for the court. I am extremely excited that the tribunal judges look at the evidence one upon the other. And another thing is, you see, we who are from the legal world, we know that opinion is not as important as the law. We know that feeling is not as important as the law. We know that persuasion is not as important until that can be tied to the law. Now, PDP's lawyers have done their best as lawyers, and I have the greatest regard and respect to them. But PDP members, they tend to think that the old tricks of manipulating public opinion and hoping that you will use that to weigh pressure on the judges will work. These judges in Nigeria are fearless. And so the judgment of the court is valid, is subsisting, is the law until it is overturned. Today, as the law stands, President Muhammadu Buhari is the winner of the 2019 presidential election. The court has so hold. And if you're angry, there are two options: to the Supreme Court or the nearest transformer. But the judgment of the court is clear.
The nearest transformer is not a courtroom, is it? But let me go to Alhaji Buba Galadima. As it stands right now, what do you hope that is the chances of your party? As it stands right now, do you think that if you go to the Supreme Court, that what the court has delivered today as a unanimous judgment of 5 judges in your appeal at the Supreme Court will stand against them?
Well, Shewan, let me first also address something. Somebody told me you went to University of Jos. Is that correct?
I did not.
Which one did you go to?
I mean, don't let's bring my certificate onto the table tonight, because it's not for contestation.
Okay.
I went to perhaps one of the best universities in Nigeria, but that's not for discussion for tonight.
Thank you very much. Which University of Jos is one of them? You applied to Channels Television for employment. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And you are so employed. You just went there and told them, I went through university and they gave you employment? You didn't show them any evidence that you went to school?
All
Now,
right, let me, all the thoughts.
I'm coming.
No, hold on. We need to go to this break. When we come back from this break, I will allow you to buttress on the point that you took up. Don't go anywhere. We'll go back to Alhaji Galadima when we return from this break, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let me get back to our Abuja studio. Alhaji Buba Galadima, you went on a lighter note, but seriously speaking, if you react to the question that I asked with the verdict of the five-man panel, which was unanimous today, if you approach the Supreme Court, you probably will be taking this, you're appealing on this judgment. What gives your party the confidence that you might emerge victorious?
well, it's very simple. It's not the first time that Supreme Court has set aside judgments that has emanated from Alkali Court to High Court to Appeal Court, and they set it aside. It's not the first time. We believe that if the judges of the Supreme Court are God-fearing and can live by their oath of office and are courageous, they can set aside this judgment. Because as far as we are concerned, all issues put forward by us have not been properly and genuinely evaluated to arrive at the kind of decision that we have today. So, and whatever you do, some of us who believe in God put God before us, that God can not only do miracles, but would do justice to the oppressed. And in this case, we are the oppressors, we are the weak, whose rights were trampled upon by the powerful.
Alhaji Galadima, how does this leave your party politically speaking now? Because your party has lost election in 2015. You lost in 2019. There was an intense debate online. Atiku is coming on one side, and the other side is saying Atiku is not coming. Where does this leave followership of your party and the trust of followership in your party structure and system after this tribunal?
Shaun, it looks like you are a student of Mr. Daniel Bwala. If you are not, and you are not living in another world, you should have remembered that General Buhari contested elections how many times before he became president? How many parties did he change? And when God decreed that he would be president of Nigeria, he so became in 2015. So why should anybody think that PDP is at the lowest ebb? We have done a marvelous amount of job and made a stride that we built on what PDP was in 2015. How many governments did we acquire from the APC? And if elections were to be free and fair, I'm sure APC wouldn't have more than 10 states today under their armpit. We could have defeated them roundly, but they used the police, they used the military, they used security agencies, and above all, their collaborator, INEC, to shortchange us. And now they want to use the judiciary to do the same thing. I hope the judiciary will live up to their oath of office.
Mr. Bwala, get into that conversation, same vein of conversation with Alhaji Galadima, the implications, the political implication of today's judgment. After all said and done, in fact, one of the chieftain of your party says that after 2019, after President Buhari ends his tenure in 2023, APC will cease to exist. What is the implication of today's event for your party politically?
Well, for our party, the decision of the court has strengthened the party because it has strengthened the power in the center. The power in the center is what determines the life of a political party in our political terrain. And for PDP, I remember long before the PDP players came on board, I think I was on record to have said that the only way PDP can give a run for money of the President Buhari, is Atiku will have to emerge as the flag bearer at a time when they were looking at Saraki and they were looking at other people, and then Atiku emerged. So I don't have any ill feeling towards them. Let me give them advice free. PDP, after the Supreme Court decision and they lose, PDP should collapse. Then PDP should reinvent itself. And one of the ways they can help themselves is they should sieve out people who have participated in the government that has all manner of things like corruption, allegation, and all of that. They should build a generation of young people, if possible, change the name and change their party ideology. They should be more restitution-driven. In other words, rather than denying that their failure has created a problem, let them come up to say that we, like the way Secondo started at the beginning when he told Nigerians that we are sorry. The only thing is that the next day they went back to their past. Now, because for sure you can put me on record as saying tonight, after this presidential election, 6 months is too much. PDP will be fragmented again. So, and we want in a democratic society to have a very strong opposition, because it's very important that democracy is sustained in an atmosphere where there is the government and there is a viral opposition. But I don't think going to 2023, PDP will have relevance as opposition. I see other parties emerging. For example, SDP might build itself. Young Progressive Party may be able to gather the young people around Nigeria. And then the young people also should be wary of people who come in different names. Like when they came, they said Third Force, but in actual fact, they wanted to move them to PDP. That is the only way PDP can give life to themselves. Otherwise, there is no hope for that party. For our party, this is the time for building. This is the time for us to also reflect on 2015 election. We lost governorship election in other states. It's time for us to build upon that. And I can tell you that, Mr. Sheun, that the national chairman of the party is particularly concerned in building a party with ideas and ideology, with policy for good governance, every state
Mr.
of the federation where APC is leading, they will be able to show example in leadership.
Let me quickly get back to the senior advocate on the program, Chief Robert Clarke, and get his final thought. There were interesting scenarios that played out in the process leading up to this tribunal judgment. Justice Booker Chua was supposed to be the chair of this, but she recused herself. Some of those scenarios that played out, from your own standpoint, having spent several decades, almost 5 decades as a lawyer in Nigeria, what lessons are major for the Nigeria judiciary to learn from this whole process?
Well, the problem that has beset the tribunal, initially on the composition of the panel, has not in any way, in my view, affected the results that we had today. But despite and in spite of that, you are asking whether at the Supreme Court, these people have a hope of winning. You see, law is very clear. Facts to us lawyers are sacred, and you can only build an appeal where you feel that the facts upon which the law has been applied by the tribunal is basically wrong. Now, the law says you who is asserting that the president has no certificate, you ought to have produced evidence to that effect, but you woefully failed to do so. And the evidence the tribunal has now used is evidence got even from the Nigerian Army's file that shows that this man was, attended a secondary school and made, the necessary progress in life. Secondly, you have to challenge the application of law that supports this fact. The law is very clear. This tribunal has done its best. I, as a lawyer, I will not subscribe to an appeal on the basis that sentiments, political sentiments, have to be, followed. But good luck to anybody who wants to challenge this judgment. As a lawyer, I know, I'm not saying that the judgment is infallible, but I can assure you it will take a really, really tough journey to set it aside.
We sincerely must thank you, Chief Robert Clarke, for your thought there, senior advocate of Nigeria, perhaps one of the most experienced lawyers you will find around in Nigeria today. Thank you so much, Chief Robert Clarke, for talking to us. And I must sincerely thank my partner also in our Abuja studio, Alhaji Buba Galadima, spokesperson of the PD Presidential Campaign Organization, and Mr. Daniel Bwala, a lawyer and a member of the APC. But that's how we'll leave it tonight on the program. Sincere thanks for all of you for coming on tonight. Thank you also for watching wherever you may be. That's it tonight. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.